The FDA recently approved the first at-home test for chlamydia and gonorrhea. The company Let's Get Checked launched its Simple 2 test. It allows adults 18 years and older to collect their own samples that are then shipped off to a lab. Results can be viewed online, and a healthcare provider follows up if the test is positive. Chlamydia and gonorrhea are the two most common bacterial STIs. HIV is the only other sexually transmitted infection the FDA approved for at-home testing. To talk a little bit more about this, I want to bring in Dr. Amesh Adalja, a senior scholar at the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security and an adjunct assistant professor at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. Doctor, good to see you. Thanks for being here. How does this test work?
This test is basically a home collection device. So what you will get are swabs or specimen collection kits in your house that you provide the specimen for, and then you mail those off to a lab, which will then run the actual test, and then you can look up those results online. So this isn't a home test the way we have for COVID or even the way we have for HIV and even now influenza, but it is a home collection kit, and it's a step forward towards getting more people diagnosed, more people linked to treatment, and decreasing the prevalence of these very common sexually transmitted infections.
And with how common STIs, those specifically, have become, why has it taken so long for there to be at-home testing?
Well, I think it's always been something that regulatory agencies have been reticent to do. If you look back to the first home test that we ever had, it was for HIV, and that took the company about a decade to get through all those regulatory hoops that the FDA put in place. So this has been something where it's not something the regulators want to do. The COVID-19 home test, that took a lot of work and effort to actually make the case for that. And we have a flu test now, so there is momentum. And again, this is not a home test, it's a home collection kit. So there's still that last hurdle to go so that people can test for gonorrhea and chlamydia in their own home and get the result themselves. That would even be better. But we're starting to see some movement here, and hopefully this momentum continues and we get more of these types of tests.
Yeah, that's an important point. We looked up the most recent data from the CDC showing STIs like gonorrhea and chlamydia are on the rise. What's behind that?
Well, I think what we see is that people's sexually transmitted infections, their diagnosis usually happens at health departments. They don't usually go to their primary care doctor and talk about this. So health departments are under-resourced, inundated with other tasks that they have to do, specifically COVID. So there's been a major disruption in their ability to test. We know that people get complacent about sexually transmitted infections. Actually, gonorrhea is actually down 9%, but syphilis is the one that's up 9% or so this year, including congenital syphilis. So this is something that you have to be vigilant about. You have to really not think that this is something from a bygone era, or they will creep back. STIs have consistently infected humans, and it really takes a lot of resources, especially in the public health community, because this isn't something that the general medical doctor wants to deal with or deals with. Unfortunately, this often falls to the public health clinics in cities which are under-resourced.
And we know that there's a stigma with STIs. How do we push past that for people who may have one?
It's very difficult. I mean, that stigma probably goes back to biblical times with Sodom and Gomorrah. So this is something that's ingrained in people's their psyches. But I think we have to start thinking about sexually transmitted infections as just like any other infectious disease, that there should be no stigma to ask your primary care doctor to be tested for chlamydia or gonorrhea, just as there's no stigma to be asked to be tested for Lyme disease or mononucleosis. We have to start thinking about them as part and parcel of the general infectious disease milieu and not separating them out. And that's very difficult to do, because there is this puritanical streak that's in a lot of people that has stifled the ability to control sexually transmitted infections, and it doesn't do anybody any service. What it actually helps is those bacteria to spread from person to person. So I think we have to kind of remove these ingrained biases against sexually transmitted infections so that we can actually treat people and get a handle on this problem, which has many negative cascading downstream consequences.
And this new test, what age group could benefit the most from it?
It's usually younger individuals, probably between the ages of 18 to 25, those that are sexually active, who may not have great access to healthcare or access to a place to get sexually transmitted infection testing. That's where we see increases in the highest levels, is in that younger sexually active age group of adults.
And as far as chlamydia and gonorrhea, because those are the two that we have been talking about, syphilis as well, what are some of the symptoms that someone should look for to know when it's time to get tested?
So some people have no symptoms at all. So for example, a male with chlamydia may have no symptoms at all. But other symptoms that you might think about are burning with urination, discharge from the genital area. Sometimes you may see ulcerations or rashes that are occurring in that area as well. So there's a whole host of symptoms, but the thing to remember is that you can have no symptoms at all, and that's why these pathogens are so efficient at transmitting from person to person.
This is an important step forward. Dr. Amesh Adalja, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.